Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. I'm starting to get bullish on Aave. This particular setup that we are seeing on the screen, together with liquidation levels to the upside and some bullish catalysts coming in the short to medium term, I think it's worth spending some time discussing what are the best options at the moment to enter, not just on a swing trade, but also on a longer term, pretty profitable setup. I want to discuss that, go through some news, look at the technicals, liquidation levels, discuss a few entries that are looking pretty hot. Guys, if you like this type of content, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell to get notified every time I put out one of these videos. I will really appreciate if we can get 1,000 likes in one of these videos once again. You can also consider joining me in my trading competition on bluffing. There's still 5 days, 9 hours left. $5,000 is the prize pool. Bluffing is a non-KYC exchange, and I left the link at the top of the description. Alternatively, you can use OKX with 60,000 in rewards, link in the description as well, or BitUnix, which is an alternative non-KYC exchange as well. Let's go into the setup. So first, let's look at the price action. As you can see, this is a quite extended bullish flag. But when we go back in time, you can see that Aave is a coin that does extreme things. For example, in here, there is a drawdown of 74%, but then it recovers 156% around the same months. And I think in this cycle, we still haven't seen what is the biggest move that Aave can do this cycle. Let's check very quickly the summary from Lunar Crash on what's going on with Aave. Aave's DAO rejected the launch of the Horizon token, showing the community's voice and commitment to decentralization. It also mentions a falling wedge pattern that is forming in the Aave price chart, indicating a potential rise. And it mentions as well Aave's on fire with proposals, including a new safety module and a dynamic reward curve. The Aave DAO is expected to start buybacks this month if proposals are implemented on time. When looking at the socials, you can see that there has been some intense spikes in the old rank on Lunar Crash, putting at some point Aave at old rank number 2 across all crypto coins. That happened on the 21st of March at 6 a.m. So just a few hours ago. So something is cooking with Aave, and in my opinion, price still hasn't shown the effects of that. Of course, we're still in the bull flag. There are some news as well. Some people targeting $300, discussion around the communities and the proposal, people talking about a breakout above $180 could change things very quickly. Notice that we are at around the 170, but although people appreciate that there has been a correction, there's multiple mentions on the bullish patterns. As you probably know, I prefer to see a little bit more bearishness and not so many people agreeing that this is bullish. So that is something I'm going to incorporate when we start discussing about the design of the perfect approach for accumulation. Notice that I have two setups in mind. One setup is just trading this bull flag, and the second setup is kind of a scalping setup. So if you just want a quick in and out, I got you covered as well. There is a third setup, which is based on the fact that the liquidity on M2, the Federal Reserve, is increasing their balance sheet. So there is that potential that we get an altcoin season, in which case we can extend targets. So I'll mention that. I'll make sure that I get you covered for a scalping, a swing, and a hopeful altcoin season in 2025 scenario. Okay, I'm gonna go with the liquidation levels now. On the 1 month, we can see that right where we are in the price, we have some upside into $187. There is a liquidation there. That's where people enter with a short 2 times, because we are kind of forming a double top at the moment after having had a breakout from the previous range that we can see on the left hand side. So far, the situation is that we have a lower high, but we still have a higher low that's in progress at the moment with the current swing. I think eventually the 187 is going to be taken down by a move up. The thing that we need to be flexible in this setup is that since we couldn't put a higher high in here, we might end up also putting a lower high relative to the recent swing, and then end up targeting the liquidity on the lower end. If we did that, that's gonna convince everybody that Aave really is not gonna happen, that we are not really going to turn bullish on Aave. I give that scenario around a 30% at the moment, 40% chances that we go to the lower liquidity at 167. And I'm going to incorporate this analysis starting with the scalping trade. For me, the scalping trade is to consider that the price action is somehow at $176 at support. If we go to the 1 hour time frame, I can place a line in here, and we are about to approach that support on the 1 hour. So anywhere around here, the scalp can be seen as buy support around 175 and target the liquidity at 187, assuming that we don't break down. If we take the lows of 172, then there is a higher chance that then we end up going for the liquidity on the lower end. Let's draw the liquidity to have very clear where it is. So there is liquidity on the top end there, and then there is liquidity on this end of the chart. So if we start breaking down in here, there is a possibility, assuming that Bitcoin also breaks to those 68Ks, that we could visit this area and liquidate the low end that has built throughout these higher lows. So I'm not discarding that, and I think that will be a potential great last shake-off for the best area to accumulate if Aave still have those chances to go to the upside. The scalp is basically going from here, the setup going there, or losing this area and turning into a fake out and still going for the higher liquidity. For that, we need Bitcoin to continue sideways or start hitting the 90s. And that's why I will say my scalp is the entry right around where we are at 175. If you have, let's say, $1,000 to trade, I will use 1/3 for the scalp, which in case it fails, I can double down at around 157, which is kind of in the center of that liquidation level. Averaging down like that could give you an average around 170, or more or less around this area. And if by then we haven't taken the 187, then you have a larger volume, and probably that liquidity level will have grown a lot more, making it even more likely to go there. So let me remove all these drawings except for the liquidation levels, and let's go back to the weekly chart. And let's do the weekly analysis of the price. Right here, where we are, is a bounce from weekly support from the highs of September. We are currently testing that. What is the bigger risk of entering both at 175 and 167, which is slightly below this? Let's say around here, right? So the risk is to end up with two orders that then end up going even lower to 128. Finally, you have the 78. So you really need to consider your risk management in here. Notice that when I say $1,000, I mean spot. So if there is a big major move down and you are 1x, you are on spot, I believe a 20% is totally doable for here. Notice that we have already done 60% down. So if you enter in here and you just have a 20% drawdown on a spot position, you end up looking like a boss. Think about all the people that enter here at $384, how jealous they will be that you're entering less than half the price than them, and there hasn't been yet any dead cat bounce even. So if you go down 20%, but then you bounce to 242, let's say you have a dead cat bounce similar to the beginning of the bear market in here, where you did huge drawdown, but then you still have an upside of 160. That was just a retracement probably to the 50%. So let's say you hit 128, a 50% exit allows you to exit at 265, and that will still put you back in the green, and still you take a 60% on the way up if you want a quick exit too, as long as that 20% didn't liquidate your order because you went too big on the leverage. All right, enough of discussing risk management. I'm supposed to just talk about the setup. You have to do your own research and your own risk management. If you don't know what it means, risk management, then you shouldn't be be even trading at all. All right, let's talk about targets for the weekly. Now we are moving away from the scalping. The scalping was that initial order. The swing is to let it average down at 157 and then still target liquidation levels or even higher. The same approach for the entry can be now used for the targets of the weekly, assuming that things turn over and the market actually becomes bullish. Let's assume for a moment that we start moving from 160 and we hold the support, in which case at the moment on the RSI we are testing the weekly resistance. If this weekend we see a breakout above this white line, then we put on the table a rally revenge, which could take the RSI even into 70s. That is an aggressive target. It could be 68 or it could be halfway through in here. I'm just gonna give you the full target to have a range to play with. So let's keep in mind that 70 and let's appreciate where we are at the moment with Aave in terms of longs versus shorts. These bands are based on statistics, and as you can see, in August we pinch a little bit lower the white line. At the moment we are pinching the yellow line, which is a little bit highest percentile that I'm calculating, and that's why I'm leaving that room for maybe potentially some additional downside, but we are quite extended in here in the number of shorts. So they are placing themselves in a terrible situation on the weekly time frame to be on a short on such an overextended bull flag in here. Can they get lucky? Yes, maybe they can have that 20% drawdown, but getting into 78, that literally means that that's the end and we are really calling for a bear market. Assuming we get that 70, we get a perfect target achieved, we don't go just halfway, and assuming that that breakout is not a fake out, which can also be the case, then let's look at that target of RSI 70. As you can see, I'm using in here RSI 70 and it's giving us a target of 447. So from where we are, that's 155% up, and that is just a revenge rally. That also coincides with the extension of 1 Fibonacci of this, the handle of the flag. If we place it from the bottom, it more or less gets into the 170%. I don't know why I say 150, it's 170. There will be levels that are going to be challenging on the way, where you probably need to put some alerts to see how we react to those. There is the 243, there is the 317, there is the order block from the beginning of the bear market in 2021 at 425, and finally the target of 450. If you wonder where am I getting this $500, that is from using, instead of here as the point of starting the flag, right, which is more conservative, I'm using the lows of April 2024, and that's how we can get into $500. Those are more aggressive targets, including the 1618 golden pocket of 700, and that is just still trading just extensions around this small area in the history. If we use extensions of the previous bull market, an extension of 1 perfectly matches the 1618 around this area. That's a confluence of $700, and the 1618, assuming that Aave can do a higher high, a new all-time high this cycle, that puts $1,100 on the table. To be fully honest, any of these extensions that are beyond the $400 are only realistic if we are in the context of finally having a strong altcoin season, thanks to all this liquidity that has just started to go in the right direction. If it carries on in this direction globally and in the US, well, then those targets are on the table. But if things revert back because of a black swan event or anything, then we have to go back to talk about those lower levels and even possibly a failed bull flag. So manage your risk. That can happen. Keep an eye for the VIX and all my general markets updates as well. Those are the things that drive this. Aave doesn't live in a bubble. I wish it was. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If you want a similar analysis on any other coin, just make sure that you write it down in the comments below. Hit the likes on these videos. Come up to the algorithm of YouTube as good content for more people. I will really, really appreciate that. So all the effort pays off. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.